Hello and welcome to the BA Sports Podcast. Today I've got a very special guest back on for you guys. It's Jim Coventry. Jim, how's it going?
Oh man, the season's almost over. We're still excited because we still get to talk football.
Yep, we've got 1 week left of football. Got about 8 days until Super Bowl 58, a rematch of Super Bowl 54, the Niners and Chiefs in Las Vegas. Now, even though it's a rematch, there are some different players on these teams, and specifically the 49ers. They've got a new quarterback and running back. Even Ayuk is new, and they've got to love that. So, Jim, what do you think about this Super Bowl? Do you think it's going to be a close one? I think everyone's trying to decide who's going to win because it's so hard to pick one or the other.
You're right about that. And look, if they play this game 10 times, I think 8 of them are very close. 8 of them are definitely within a touchdown. There's always the outlier games where there's a key fumble or a key interception and a defense, gets a score and then all of a sudden things snowball. That does happen. But other than those things happening, this game should be competitive start to finish. I think that we've seen the Chiefs have a difficult regular season, but really do what champions do in the postseason. The 49ers, they definitely have not been impressive in the playoffs, but I really think the two offenses they faced were very well equipped to deal with their weaknesses. But the 49ers did again what they had to do because they could have or should have lost both of those games and they still came out on top. So these teams deserve to be here.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, both of them really coming out in the regular season. San Francisco started off hot. Kansas City, not so much. Kansas City, we saw them take off towards the end of the year and into the playoffs. And San Francisco had a rough stretch in the middle of the year. They lost 3 straight games. But since their 3 game losing streak, their only loss is to that Ravens team that the Chiefs just beat. And the Chiefs really controlled time of possession in that one. They had about 37 minutes of time of possession compared to the Ravens 23, which is huge for the Chiefs. And I think that's what they have to do for them to win this game. So, also, last matchup they had between these two teams was actually in 2022, and it was Brock Purdy's first game that he actually attempted a pass. And that was also the first game that they acquired Christian McCaffrey. And this team has grown a lot since that game where the Chiefs actually blew them out, and it wasn't even close in Santa Clara. It was actually kind of surprising, but the Chiefs were rolling at the time. And now you get a more experienced San Francisco team. They went to the NFC Championship game last year with Brock Purdy. And like you said, Jim, they've overcome those two come from behind games this postseason. And that bodes really well for this San Francisco team as a confidence booster. And I think it's going to be a really good game. I think let's go into see how the Chiefs can win this game. Jim, what do you think they have to do on the offensive side of the ball to win this game?
So what the Chiefs did is they had their bye roughly week 10, I believe, and then they played the Philadelphia Eagles on that Monday night game in week 11, and they came out and they threw the ball 11 times to Justin Watson. And I said to myself, Andy Reid, what are you doing? Coming out of the bye, I fully expected you to get Rashee Rice going, and you went to Justin Watson. Well, they lost that game, obviously, against the Eagles, and Andy Reid apparently did some very quick soul searching, and he fixed it every week after. It was no more Justin Watson show. It was Rashee Rice getting 9 to 12 targets in almost every game. It was him, it was Kelsey, and it was Isaiah Pacheco. They realized that as much as Andy Reid likes to involve everybody, it's a very narrow group of players they need to win. And so, to speak to your question about what they need to do to win, they not only need to stick to that formula of keeping it to their best players, but they have to find a way to keep them productive because remember, I felt that the Baltimore Ravens came out with a horrific game plan. It was like whoever happened to be in Kelsey's neighborhood guarded him, whether it was Arthur Mollett, whether it was Brandon Stevens, whether it was Kyle Hamilton. And those, when the cornerbacks around him, those are mismatches. Kelsey's big body in the middle of the field, those cornerbacks have no chance. So Baltimore had no plan for Kelsey. And notice in the second half, the Chiefs could not get a first down. They may have gotten one or two. They
Yeah.
could not get it. Once the Ravens figured out, oh crap, we need to fix this. Well, too late, Bucko, right?
Yeah.
So my thought here is they have to not only, like I said, keep those three involved, but they all have to be successful. I'm saying, and this is a rough number. Kelsey and Rashi Rice together need to go for about 150 yards together and a touchdown. It's not exactly that number, but you understand the frame of
Mhm.
reference. They have to be effective. And Pacheco, the yards per carry isn't always great. I think he had a 24 for 68 recently. Well, he has to be near that 4 yards per carry. He needs to be more of a sustaining runner, and they need him to help move the chains and keep them out of a lot of obvious passing downs. I think those are their keys. And then obviously, I'm leaving Patrick Mahomes out of this because obviously Patrick Mahomes is the player that lifts all the ships when it's working. So we don't really need to spend much time on him.
Yeah, yeah. Patrick Mahomes keeps that ship afloat for them by making some crazy plays. I do think they have to lean on Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, he's averaging 6.8 yards per carry in the playoffs off the left edge. I think these outside zone runs can be helpful against the San Francisco team. Now, the San Francisco team, their D line has not looked great against the run. And if they can improve in that, the Chiefs could struggle running the ball, but because they also have two outstanding linebackers in San Francisco, and we'll get into that in the San Francisco portion of this. But I also think they can't be as aggressive as Dan Campbell will and was last week, but they won't do that because they have Harrison Bucker at kicker, and he's one of the best kickers in the league. I think, yeah, the Chiefs went into Baltimore and kind of out physicaled them. That's what they have to implement as well on the defensive side of the ball. And offensive side of the ball, kind of out physical the Niners. I mean, we saw it from the Lions last week. They were out physicaling the Niners, and the Niners didn't know what hit them until the second half, and then they figured things out and they got the momentum rolling. And the Chiefs are going to have to just really rely on Kelsey, like you were saying. Like last week, Laporta went 9 for 97. I think the Niners are kind of missing Hufanga, the safety, and that kind of hurts in their tight end coverage. But if they can't get Kelsey going, they're gonna have to get other people involved because I mean they really need him to get going. They're gonna need Marquez Valdez Scantling possibly to step up. Marquez Valdez Scantling has been great against the Niners. He averages about 66 receiving yards per game in his 5 career games. Now, granted, 4 of them were with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, but they also had Devontae Adams to feed on that team. And last year in 2022, Valdez Scantling went for 111 ish yards, and I think Juju had like 125. Mahomes had like 425 yards passing. So I mean, if I don't think they're going to rely on passing the ball as much as they were in that matchup because they need to get the ground game going. But yeah, it's gonna, and they really need Joe Tooney back. Joe Tooney, the guard, they need him healthy. Now, Jim, what do you think the Chiefs need to do on the defensive side of the ball to get this win?
So, as great as Steve Spagnuolo is, and I did make the comment before the Ravens game, I said he's going to confuse Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson is probably not going to get it done. I said if they played 10 times, the Ravens would win in 8. I go, but Spagnuolo in this specific stage would give him problems, and he clearly did. The problem with facing the 49ers right now is you can only take so much away. And the beauty is, though, the cornerbacks, right? They got L'Jarius Sneed on the outside, and he'll be on Ayuk a lot. We'll see him quite a bit on him, and that'll be a very good matchup to see. But I really think the Chiefs are going to make that tough. Ayuk's not going to have a lot of easy free looks. And then we know Debo Samuel will go into the slot up to 40% of the time. Well, Trent McDuffie just won the 8 All-Pro first team slot cornerback of the year. And
Yeah.
so that's not an easy matchup. Now, Shanahan certainly can scheme those guys up. But my point to answer your question about the Chiefs defenses, they do need Sneed and McDuffie to really put the clamps on Ayuk and on Debo Samuel. That is a critical one. Now, the other problems, they are going to have to find some way, and I don't know how they do it, of limiting Christian McCaffrey. People will cite the Chiefs' defensive numbers and against the run, and they look good. They are not a good run defense.
Mm-mm.
The Raiders played them twice. They committed to the run. Josh Jacobs blew up on him. Zamir White blew up on him. And even when games earlier in the season, when you see running backs at 13 and 15 and 17 years, a lot of those running backs were very, very successful. They just didn't have the volume to put up the 100-yard games. So they're going to have to find a way to somehow limit Christian McCaffrey because McCaffrey's the player that's could potentially hurt them most. And I don't know how they're going to come up with an answer for George Kittle either. You can have an answer. There's the problem with the Niners. you can have an answer for some of the weapons, but there are four of them playing at a mega elite level. And at some point, you've got to give them something because you can't take everything. So the Chiefs are going to have to find a way to take away, okay, wait, two for sure. And then they're going to have to do a limitation of some sort on McCaffrey.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to slow him down. And if they're without Willie Gay, the linebacker, it's going to be even more of a challenge for them. But I know Spagnol is going to draw something up for them. Like you said, their cornerbacks stepped up big time this year. That bodes well for them. But yeah, there's so many weapons. Not to mention, they also have to watch out for Brock Purdy on the ground. He was scrambling all over the Lions last week towards the end of the game and getting crucial conversions when needed, and that's what the Chiefs have to do. They actually have to really control the third down stops. So the Ravens were 3 for 11 on third down last week. The Bills were 7 of 14 on third down the week prior, and they honestly had the most success, I would say, against this Chiefs team.
There's
And
no
then
doubt about it. Yes, that's a good call. Continue on, though. I know you're going to say more.
Oh yeah, and then the Dolphins 1 of 12 on third down. So now that game was a little cold and uh, just kind of bad conditions overall. So I'm not going to fault the Dolphins for only converting one
Nope.
third down.
Nope.
But yeah, that's still big time by the Kansas City defense. Now, like you said, Jim, they're averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Running backs are against this Chiefs defense, 28th in the NFL. And also, the Chiefs can't just blitz Purdy. They can't send everyone because he's the best against the blitz. He's got a 132.3 rating and 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions against the blitz. So they're going to have to kind of scheme up things to disguise stuff and kind of get Purdy into turning the ball over. I mean, that's what the Ravens ended up doing. They were just relentless with their pressure and coverages to force the 5 turnovers against the Niners team in Santa Clara. Week 15, I think, or 16. So, yeah, the Chiefs are going to have to step up and probably have another great game on defense, just like they did against the Ravens. Because, yeah, like you said, there's so many weapons to go around for Purdy, and it's just a tough offense to stop. But McCaffrey is the guy you have to stop, or else you're going to lose this game. And I'll go into that kind of in this next segment when we're going to go over the Niners offense and how they can win on the offense. Jim, how do you think they win on the ground? I know it's got to be probably feed Christian McCaffrey. That's what I have. What do you think?
So going into this game, we talk about Steve Spagnuolo as being a genius, and he is. But we can never underestimate the genius of Kyle Shanahan. And
Mhm.
Shanahan has 2 weeks to prepare for this game. He has plenty of film. And as great as Spagnuolo is, I am not putting him over Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan's going to have some clever ideas, and he's going to know some things that Spags might try, and he's going to have answers. And you talk about the Purdy numbers against the blitz. That's because of the hot reads he has. Because you have McCaffrey, you have Debo, you have Ayuk, you have Kittle, and so finding one of them quickly, it tends to work out pretty well when you sacrifice bodies on the blitz, and now there's one less tackler behind. So that's going to be a real complicated mess. But I do like Shannon. I do think Shannon comes into this game though saying, "Look, I have put the game on Purdy's shoulders in big moments, but not this game."
Yeah.
Because the Chiefs' pass defense is exceptional. And if they get rolling and hot, they even make things more difficult for the opposing offense. This game, as you're intimating, Shanahan has to make it about Christian McCaffrey. I just don't think there is any answer the Chiefs can have. You can't put extra bodies in because of all the weapons the 49ers have. You can't overcommit because once you sell it there, Kittle will crush you, or Debo, or Ayuk. They'll find a way. So this is a McCaffrey game, whether it's as a runner or as a receiver. But I look, 2 weeks off going into this game, a full off season, so you don't have to rest him up. This is me if I'm the coach. I'm giving McCaffrey 30 touches in this game. And if I got to get him to 35, I'm getting him to 35 because there's no tomorrow. This is
Mhm.
McCaffrey is our team. The whole organization knows Brock Purdy's not the MVP. It's Christian McCaffrey. And
Yep.
against this team and in this matchup, this is what you want. The Lions were a tough matchup against the run. Now, McCaffrey took a while but broke through. Green Bay was not a great matchup, but it was a rainy day. It was a weird day. This is the game where McCaffrey wins it for them if they're going to win. And I believe that he's in line to post at least 150 scrimmage yards in this game, and he is in line for a couple of touchdowns. But that, to me, is their path to winning.
Yeah, he's the X factor on that team. He's the one who makes the difference for this offense. And I think not only are they going to run it with McCaffrey, but I think they're also going to run it with Debo some. I mean, Debo in the last Super Bowl that these two played, 3 carries, 53
Mhm.
yards. He broke off like a 35-yarder. I think, he'll come in to play as well. But what I like about Kyle Shanahan, like you were saying, how he schemes things up. I was watching the replay of one of the plays against the Lions, and they shifted Kittle in motion, and then they shifted check once the ball snapped, and they got a blocker advantage on the Lions defenders automatically, and that's what Kyle Shanahan does. He just schemes it up so well, and then it's like, well, Christian McCaffrey is so fast that he just hits the hole so fast, and he's on the outside, and he's got 7 or 8 yards automatically. And I think that's what they got to do because, I mean, Chiefs run defense, not great. And I'm surprised the Ravens didn't run the ball more, but they were
No.
down the whole game, but they were averaging like 5.1 yards per carry. It was shocking to see, honestly. I think they just got scared that, like, if they were to not throw the ball, that Mahomes would go down score. But the defense for the Ravens was just playing lights out in that second half. And I think if they would have leaned on the run a little more, they may have had a chance, especially when that Zay Flowers reaching towards the goal line. They were so close to the goal
Mhm.
line. They could have just ran it a couple times, but the Chiefs defense came up in the end. But yeah, that's what the Niners have to do. I mean, they're also very good on third down, 10 of 16 versus the Packers, 6 of 12 versus the Lions. I think it's going to be a battle of third down. But yeah, check and Kittle will be key to making plays.
Mhm.
And Christian McCaffrey is averaging 6.8 yards per carry off of the right edge in the playoffs. That's huge. I think they got an outside zone run with him a lot. And once they get successful with McCaffrey on the ground, because I believe they will, that opens up the play action game. And all of those weapons are at play for the Niners, and I think they want to play from ahead. They want to control time of possession. Now, this is some interesting time of possession stats I kind of dug into, Jim. So the Chiefs average about 29 minutes of time of possession, and 2 out of the 3 games in the playoffs, they've averaged over 34 minutes of time of possession. Now, the Niners average 31 minutes of time of possession. I believe that's top 5 in the NFL, if not
Mhm.
top 3, and they averaged 32 against the Lions and then 29 against the Packers. They're 8-0 when they win time of possession, the Niners are. And they've only lost when they have not controlled the time of possession. It's what they love to do. They love to run the ball and keep possession. That's what they got to do, because when you're controlling the possession like that, you're also keeping the ball out of Mahomes' hands. And last week, Mahomes had the ball so much of the time, 37 minutes. That's too much time, and you can't expect people to come back from that when they're controlling the time of possession like they were last week. And like we mentioned earlier, they came back in those 2 games. That just bodes well for the Niners' confidence. And if they can control the time of possession with the run game and Christian McCaffrey, I think they win this game. It's going to be fun to watch, though.
Now, I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball for the 49ers for a minute too.
Yep.
And on the defensive side, look, to me, if I'm game planning, this is not a hard game plan. The Chiefs are not a great offense. They are not a complete offense. And the 49ers, it's not a lot of levers to pull here. But here's what I would do. First thing is, we know that we're going to see Rashi Rice on the outside about half of the time, roughly. He'll go in the slot about half as well. When he's on the outside, I am putting Charvarius Ward on him. I'm shadowing him. That's the first thing I'm doing, because no other receiver am I worried about. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to stop Rashi Rice. Now, in terms of Travis Kelce, they haven't really done it this year, but Fred Warner in his career, when he's used as a tight end stopper, he could shut down, other than Gronkowski, which I didn't say you play him, any other tight end in the league, he could shut him down. And if I'm the 49ers, I am saying, you know what, Fred Warner, your game is to eliminate Travis Kelce. And if I have him on Kelce, 4 for 40 is about the most we're getting out of Travis Kelce, because Kelsey's 34. Kelce
Hmm.
can't run like he used to. He has some nuance, and he has all those the connection with Mahomes. But if Fred Warner's on him, that I'm sorry, Travis Kelce, at this stage of your career, that is out of your league. But I don't know if they'll do it. The 49ers might not do it, but that's their key. And if they're not going to do that, then you're definitely going to put a bracket on Kelce. But here's the problem when you do that. If you bracket him and he's an inline tight end and they leave him in the block, now you waste a defender. Whereas if you have
Mhm.
Fred Warner lined up over him, doesn't really matter because now it's just one. So I don't know what they're going to do, but that is their key to success. And look, Isaiah Pacheco is a good running back, but he is not that guy that's going to go for 180 yards and going to run it down your throat all day and beat you. Let him get his runs, fine, whatever. But ultimately, the Chiefs will have a holding call. They'll have a false start. Pacheco will get a -2 on one of the carries, and they're going to put him in a bad situation. So Pacheco's not that level of back that is going to, for 4 quarters, going to ice you. That's not who he is. He's a good running back, but he's not that. So I'm not worried about that situation. So that's defensively. That's how I'm
Mhm.
coming out as in the 49ers because I know they only want 3 guys with the ball most of the time, and I'm going to take 2 of the important ones away. And again, let the running back do what he does because he's not going to beat me.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think they have to shut down Travis Kelce. Like that's your number one key. You have to try and find a way to slow him down, and I think that's a good way to approach it, Jim. Like Fred Warner is probably the best linebacker in the league. And not to mention they've also got Drake Greenlaw. They probably have the best linebacker duo. Them or Baltimore, I'd say, are the best two linebacker duos in the league. And yeah, they really need both of them to step up to kind of mitigate Kelsey. And yeah, I don't think the Niners defense is too worried about Pacheco on the ground. This offensive line's kind of banged up. Last week they had to deal with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
the Lions offensive line is a lot better than this Chiefs one. So I think that it's going to be an interesting matchup and see how Kansas City comes out and tries to expose this defense. I think they may try and get Marquez Valdez-Scantling involved a little bit. Um, I think they're going to need him to step up, and it's a boost of confidence with that reception that he had at the end of the game to clutch up the game and secure that win for them. So I think that bodes well for getting MVS's confidence up. Yeah, Jim, what
I
do
want
you
to
have?
add one thing to that. So when the 49ers have Ambry Thomas lined up against Marquez Valdez Scantling, they are going to want to take a couple shots deep if they can, because Ambry Thomas has been a big play machine. He's giving up not just big plays, but when he doesn't, he often interferes with the receiver. And those could be pivotal plays in the game. So I like your calling out of Marquez Valdez Scantling just to run him on those routes again against Ambry Thomas. I think that is something the Chiefs will want to leverage and take advantage of because that could be a very opportunistic situation that they can help them in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think, they have to win with their front four against Mahomes because if they start blitzing him, he can counter that really quick. He's one of the best in the league against the blitz, just like Purdy is. So they're gonna have to find some creative ways, and I think they will. I think them coming from behind and their defense stepping up in the last two matchups. I think that bodes well for the confidence boost of the defense, even though they haven't been playing well. Um, they've allowed a lot of points, but they've still got the win, and that's the one thing that matters. And that is a confidence booster for this team. So yeah, that's kind of our keys to the defense. And
Can I add one thing too?
yeah, go for it.
You brought up the front four of the 49ers. This is the best playoff matchup that they've had because basically Green Bay's tackles, even without Bakhtiari, they were solid. And we know the Lions have
Oh
excellent,
yeah.
excellent offensive tackles. Well, in pass protection, these are not great tackles. Jawan Taylor, a little below average. On the other side, Donovan Smith,
Smith.
very average.
Hmm.
Now we've got Bosa and we got Chase Young against them. That is a big advantage to the 49ers. And like you mentioned earlier on the interior, Joe Tooney's a good run blocker, but he's a phenomenal pass blocker. And you take him out of the equation, you still got Trey Smith and you still got Creed Humphrey in there, but you got them against Eric Armstead and against Javon Hargrave. Now, Eric Armstead doesn't get a lot of publicity because he doesn't have the sack numbers, but
Hmm.
he is a pocket crusher. And he is still, because of that, he's considered an outstanding pass rusher because his job allows the other players to do theirs. And Javon Hargrave is still a game wrecker on the interior. So I think, and I do not expect Tooney to play. I think this is a very significant pectoral injury he has. This is probably going to be a lot more serious than anybody was whispering earlier. So I'd be stunned if he played. And so you mentioned earlier, I want to accelerate that point that you're right. The front four of the 49ers, and they won't need to blitz because this is a line they
Hmm.
should be able to handle.
Yeah, and that bodes well for them if they can get pressure with four, because yeah, they haven't been able to, and if they can do that, that That opens up a lot of things for this Niners defense and to cause some trouble for this Kansas City offense, who hasn't been great, but they've just been efficient. They've
Mhm.
gotten the job done and they've taken what the defense gives them. And but if you can drop 7 into coverage and rush 4, like that is tough on a Chiefs offense that doesn't have the weapons like the Niners offense does, and you can shut down kind of those key guys that you need to. And I do like Charvarius Ward on Rasheed Rice, like you mentioned, Jim, just because of the speed of Ward matched with the speed of Rice. I don't think anyone else on that San Francisco defense is as fast as Charvarius Ward, and I don't even know if they've faced a corner as fast as Charvarius Ward in the AFC. So he kind of, I've just love watching him because he loves to break on the balls, and you don't think he'd break on it and make a play, but his speed is outrageous and he just finds a way to do it. And so, yeah, I like this Niners defense. This is a good matchup for him. Kansas City's gonna have to come out with some crazy plays. And I know Andy Reid well. He always does. It seems like so. Yeah, let's go into the our top three best bets of the game. I'm gonna start it off. I really like this one, even though some people may not, but I think it's a good one. Brock Purdy over 12.5 rushing yards, minus 110. 48 yards versus the Lions rushing, 14 yards versus the Packers. He's not known for running as much, but I think he can do it in this matchup. And I think, the Kansas City defense allows a lot of rushing yards for quarterbacks. Ravens 54, Bills 72, Dolphins 25, Chargers 77. They rested the starters, not going to count that one. But then the Bengals 32. So each of the last 5 games, this is hit for the quarterbacks. So I kind of like that one. And Jim, what do you have for your one of your best bets?
Yeah, my first best bet is the under 47.5 in this game. And I ran a poll on my X account at Jim Coventry NFL, and about 300 votes, I believe we had. And it was like 53% to the over. So the line is right because it's about half and half. But I love the under, and here's why. The 49ers have gone under 48, which is the number, in 11 of 19 games. And since the bye, 7 of 11 games, they've gone under that. And the two recent games that they had overs, which were against Detroit and Baltimore. Those were games that they had big deficits. I don't see them falling way behind this Chiefs offense because this is not that offense right now. So I don't see that happening. Also with the Chiefs have gone under in 11, under 48, I should say. I'm going to specify that same number for this game in 11 of their last 13 games and 16 of 20 on the season. And these are going to be running teams. The 49ers have the slowest pace of play in the league. And we know they're going to be a run heavy team. We also know Pacheco's going to run. The Chiefs run the 12th slowest pace. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of plays here. The 49ers commonly will run 55 offensive snaps in a game right around there, way less than the league average. And so I do think this game is going toward the under.
I like that one a lot. I debated about putting that one on mine, but last week, I mean, the Ravens and Chiefs went under big time, and everyone was kind of shocked. Like one of my friends was like, "Oh, I'm taking the over in this game," and I was like, "Be a little cautious. I think this game's going under. Two teams are going to play it tight, and yeah, both these teams I think are going to lean on the run, like you were saying, Jim. So I do like that one a lot. I've also got my next best bet. So I debated this one, but I'm going to go with it. It's Christian McCaffrey, longest rush over 18.5 yards. He's hit this in the past 2 games. He's also hit it in the 5 of the last 6 games. And like we were talking about, they need to lean on the run. And I think these outside zone runs can open up big holes for McCaffrey and get some big plays out of him. So, Jim, what's your next best bet?
Yeah, and just I have that as one of mine as well. I want people to know
Oh,
Christian McCaffrey at longest rush. Love that one. I also like McCaffrey over 88.5 rushing yards.
mhm.
McCaffrey has at least 90 in 7 of his last 8 games. The game he did, it was that wonky game at Washington, an easy win, but it's a very weird game. Games in Washington tend to work that way, but it was the anomaly. He's almost always over that. And we said earlier, Chiefs are great against the pass. The way to attack them is on the ground. And we said it earlier when the Raiders played them. That was the one team in the 2 times they committed to the run. Their running back sailed over that. And Josh Jacobs and Zamir White, not Christian McCaffrey. So I
Yeah.
do think McCaffrey's going to get plenty of carries here. Like you said, he's going to get that long run one. And if he gets that, that makes it even easier. So yeah, I like his over 88.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I love that. And also, like you were mentioning, how you like McCaffrey to get 30 plus touches. I think his over under for carries is like 18 and a half, 19 and a half right now. Do you like the over on that, Jim?
I do like that. Because I do think there's a world where if we see the Chiefs just come out unexpectedly to try to put extra bodies and say beat us through the air. I don't think they will. Then McCaffrey would be defaulted to a receiver, but I still think that probably over the carries is fine. I think the yardage is safer. I think
Yeah.
because if somehow they get a big lead in this game, we could see some Elijah Mitchell late. But I
Yep.
do like it. I do have that on my list as one as over the rushing attempts. I think I
hmm
like the yards better, but it's a great bet. If you're making that one, that definitely is.
Yeah, yeah, the yards are probably better, like, he can break those long runs, so, Christian McCaffrey loves breaking off long runs, so, yeah, I do like that. My next one, it's a shocking one, but I got burned by Mahomes last week. I'm not gonna bet against him this week. I'm actually gonna take Kansas City plus 2.5. They're 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games. San Francisco is 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games. Mahomes is 10-1-1 against the spread as an underdog in his career. And I'll throw this one in there. They're 4-0 in Allegiant Stadium, so they're kind of at home in this stadium, even though they always play the Raiders in this stadium. But yeah, so I like Kansas City plus 2.5. I do think this is going to be a close game, though, and I'm not getting burned by Mahomes again. What about you, Jim? What's your next best bet?
Yeah, my last one is gonna be, plus 265 odds, and I usually don't like betting the touchdown scorer ones, but going Travis Kelce to score the Chiefs' first touchdown, again, that's plus 265. The way I see it, when the ball gets right near the goal line, we saw David Montgomery get stuffed at the goal line. The 49ers tighten up on the goal line. As bad as their run defense, as average as it's been, they can stop you there because they have really aggressive linebackers that can shoot the gap. And so I think and if Rashi Rice is in at the goal line, he probably is on the outside. That means Charvarius Ward. I think Kelsey's the one with all of the little nuanced plays they have, all the goal line tricks. It could be the toss to him. It could be any one of 50 different things. And as much as even if Fred Warner does defend him, as I hope, but I don't know, Kelsey has so many bags of tricks at the goal line, and you know that Mahomes is going to trust him in that scenario when they have to get in. Now, could they score on a 50-yard touchdown on somebody else? Yes, but I think at plus 265, Kelsey's a really good bet to score that Chiefs' first touchdown.
I like that one a lot. I was debating about having him as the Chiefs' first touchdown scorer, and then McCaffrey as the Niners' first touchdown scorer. That's one you could probably look at as well. I want to hear your thoughts on this line for MVS's receiving yards, Jim. So his over under is 19 and a half, and I kind of lean on the over on this one. It's minus 110. He's hit this in the past 2 games. Now granted, one of them was on the final play of the game that they had to clinch it. He averages 66 receiving yards in 5 career games against San Francisco, like I was saying. And honestly, I think with this line, all it takes is one big play, which is I believe they're going to try and shoot that big play, like you were saying. If he gets matched up with Thomas, was it?
Ambry Thomas,
Um,
yeah.
Ambry Thomas. I think they're going to try and take some deep shots with MVS. So I kind of like it. It's a little on the edge for me just because he doesn't get a lot of targets, and we know those targets are going to go to Rashee Rice, Travis Kelsey, even Pacheco has gotten a lot of targets in the receiving game. But what do you think about that, Jim?
I certainly don't have an issue with it. I just don't trust Valdez Scantling. Yes, he's held on to the ball in the last 2 games, but how many does he drop? And that's a real thing with him, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing with Ambry Thomas is Ambry Thomas, if he's beaten, he'll drag you down. He will go to you and he'll drag you before the ball gets there. He'll take the interference call. And so
hmm
you'll be pulling your hair out. I don't have any because I bet Valdez Scantling. That's why I don't have hair. I bet him in the past. But anyway, so if that's the thing, oh my God, I got it, I got it. And then Ambry Thomas pulls him to the ground and it's like, oh, they got the yardage, but I didn't cash the prop. So it makes perfect sense to bet it. But again, there's so many variables with that guy. There are so many times
hmm
a goose egg happens. So good bet, but just understand he's Marcus Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, yeah, that's the problem the Chiefs receivers have been having this year is drops. Kadarius Toney and Marquez Valdez-Scantling a lot. But yeah, so let's get into our predictions for this game. I'll start out. I can't bet against my guy Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech alumni. Kansas City 24-20. I do think this game goes under, Jim. I think it's going to be a low scoring tight game. I think Kansas City wins by 4, just sneaks by just barely. I could see it even being 24-23. But I think the defense will step up for the Chiefs, and I think if they're going to win this game, they need Pacheco to run for about 70 yards and a touchdown. They don't, which is right around what his over under actually is right now. It's about like 68 and a half.
Hmm, hmm.
I also may like that bet a little bit. I've been debating it, but I'll kind of look at it more as this week approaches the Super Bowl. But Jim, what do you think the score is going to be? Who do you have to win this Super Bowl 58 matchup?
It's always hard to make a prediction when you have Patrick Mahomes. See, I was a Bulls season ticket holder while Michael Jordan played. I was at every home playoff game Jordan ever played, and I saw Jordan rip the heart out of teams that were better than the Bulls. And it was on a somewhat frequent occasion when that happened. And superstars can do that. And so any prediction I make, I add 3 words, but Patrick Mahomes, because you have no idea what he has. I also know there are games that Jordan lost. There are games that Tom Brady lost. There are Super Bowls that Tom Brady lost. And so it's they can lose. And I do think the 49ers are a better team, especially with the versatility they have on offense. Now, I know the quarterback's not even close, but I do think this is a Christian McCaffrey game. So I think Shanahan's going to make it. I'm not making it Purdy versus Mahomes. I'm making it McCaffrey versus Mahomes. Now my eyebrow goes up because you know what? As great as Mahomes is McCaffrey any less great? And my answer is no. They're both exceptional superstar, top of the rock players, and so I do think the 49ers have answers on defense for the Chiefs that the Chiefs will not have for the 49ers. So my prediction is 49ers 23-16, but Patrick Mahomes. And that's why I am not betting the winner. I'm betting the over and under. I'm betting under 47 and a half. I
Mhm.
am not betting the game, but Patrick Mahomes.
I like it. I like it. But Patrick Mahomes, yeah. McCaffrey doesn't get the praise Mahomes gets, and I think the reason is just he's not a quarterback, and everyone looks at the quarterback position for like, oh, the quarterback is carrying this team. No one ever talks about the running back carrying a team, but I mean, McCaffrey has 2 touchdowns in his last 2 playoff games. That is also a bet you could look at maybe doing is two McCaffrey to
Yes.
score 2+ touchdowns. May have some good odds, but I think this game's going to be close, is what we're projecting, and it's going to be a good matchup. And we'll see what Patrick Mahomes, what McCaffrey can do, what Shanahan versus Andy Reid can do. Jim, can you tell the listeners where to find your content? Because I know you just put out a video yesterday or the day before on this Super Bowl matchup.
Yes. So first thing, you could find me on the X at Jim Coventry NFL. I have about 36 pages of notes on the Super Bowl, including prop bets, telling you both sides of the bets, break down even the offensive lines, break everything down. You could get a free copy of those notes by going to at Jim Coventry NFL, pinned to my profile as a tweet. If you like it and retweet it, you could get yourself a copy of those notes. You could catch me on SiriusXM Fantasy Channel 87 Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 3. I'll be on through the week after the Super Bowl. Then we shift to baseball, and I go bye-bye until July. At Rotowire, you can set you up with a free trial for 2 days, no credit card needed. Go to rotowire.com/Jim. We got you covered for every sport under the sun.
Awesome, Jim. Yeah, make sure you guys follow Jim, follow Rotowire, subscribe to Rotowire, and this is going to be a great Super Bowl matchup, Jim. I appreciate you coming on for this Super Bowl 58 preview. It was great having your insight on here, and everyone, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening.